Why, howdy y'all, and welcome to another fantastic video brought to you by nobody else but me, Vintage Electronics Geek here. Today we're going to talk about and do a little swapping around of Kodak Series Dock 3. I purchased this Kodak docking station in about 2005, and I purchased this one in about 2009. In 2005 I had bought the Kodak Z7590 camera, which I still own, and that is a fantastic camera, I have to tell you. This one I bought for another camera, the Kodak Z1, oh heck, can't even see it. I think it's a 1015 IS. I don't know, whatever it is, I bought it. And today what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to swap out these little inserts. But I also wanted to show you the differences between these two docking stations. Yes, they both share the same number, Series 3, no revision number. However, right away you can immediately see some issues, or not issues, but some differences between the two. For example, this one here has a power indicator light. This one do not. They both have push button buttons, where this one here has got a little indicator light there, or some kind of bedazzle light. I don't remember what it does, but it's there. This one does not. This one, 3 LEDs, this one, 1. Otherwise, the docking from your point of view looks pretty much identical. They're about the same size, same color scheme, etc., etc., etc. In front of you here you can see some batteries, whatever you want to call them. They're here in front of you. These batteries I purchased brand new in 2005 with this docking station. These 3 batteries cost me I think $35 each, and this one here I think I paid $50. Can't remember. This is the higher voltage of the 3. This one is a new battery. These 3, they all work, but they're starting to get tired. And if you're going to shoot more than, I don't know, 20 pictures, you're going to need to swap them out. This one here, the larger of the 3, I can get a little bit more than that, but not by much. So I purchased here a week or 2 ago this new battery here, and brand new. Only charged it a couple of times. Ran it through its paces once. So I know that there's no issues with that battery. However, when I put the camera in its docking station, the first time I did it, no problem. It charged up, green lights, way to go. Use the camera again, put it back in the docking station, and then blammo, red lights. And generally what that means is there's something wrong with the battery. Well, I know there's nothing wrong with the battery. It's brand new. And I can confirm that by simply grabbing the original battery charger that came in my Kodak Z7590, and it successfully charges the batteries, all of them, with no problem. Some of these others I will also get red light indicator in this charge. So I'm not sure if there's something wrong with this charger or not, or if it's just being finicky. Again, it's a older docking station. Well, they're all old. What I need to do is I need to take this insert off of this dock and put it on this dock, and I'm going to show you how to do that. But first, let me bring out some other subtle differences between the two stations. We have power indicator, we have our power input port, we have our older USB plug, and then we have a audio video out plug. Now I'll do close-ups on those in just a moment. On the newer one, you see, we don't. We just have the power input and the audio video output, which now also becomes a USB. So they got rid of the older USB. And of course the cables are slightly different. Let me zoom in and do a close-up shot on this so you could see it just a wee better. Wee. Alright, so here we have the old one, power, USB, audio, video out. The newer of the two, power, audio, video, USB, and like I said, different plugs, cables. So here you only need 2 cables, whereas opposed to do the same job, you need 3 cables. And so you're probably asking yourself, Jack, why in the world do you need 3 cables? Well, let me explain that to you. This button, when you put your camera on the docking station, not only does the docking station charge up the camera, which is fantastic, which means you don't have to take the battery out of the camera. And some of these older cameras, once you do that, you just lost your date and calendar and most of all your settings, and you have to go back and redo it, which is a pain in the backside. It really, really sucks. These older cameras did not maintain or retain its memory for too long, if at all. The ones that did, you might have about 60 seconds to swap out batteries if you're lucky. You'd have to do it pretty fast. So that's where the docking stations came in handy. It was really, really cool back in the day. Outside of the DSLR family, which did maintain its memory, no issue, your point and shoots did not. Now here recently, I had a need where I wanted to use a smaller camera and not break out the DSLR. Sometimes when you whip out the DSLR, it's all involved. You have a much heavier camera, much heavier lens. You want to zoom in, zoom out, macro, etc., etc. Then you may or may not have to swap out lenses, or you may have to move your tripod back further or move it closer. And again, it becomes a rather involved process that becomes tiresome after a while. So for my need, and that need is essentially with my projects that I'm doing for YouTube, I want to actually start to photograph them and have some decent photographs on my web page along with the video. That way you can actually stop what you're doing and get a little bit better idea of what you're looking at, especially if you have something similar or the exact item and you need to look at that piece or part a little closer. You can examine it, etc., etc. So that's why I pulled all this old stuff out and playing with it. So for those of you that are not familiar with the docking stations, let me show you what happens. You grab your camera and you notice at the bottom you have a corresponding input for the power and all that good stuff, the connector. Let me zoom in tighter so we could all see a little closer. And here's the PC port underneath the bottom of the camera, which will correspond with what's on the docking station. You take your camera and you just simply rest it in the cradle on the dock and push it down on that so it seats properly. Now the camera is in the docking station. So what happens, you put your camera in the dock station, you have it all connected to your computer, and then you push this little button. Once you do that, it's going to send a signal over to your computer, and your computer is going to say, hey, new pictures and videos to download. Let's do that. And so it makes it a lot easier than pulling out the card and walking it over to your computer, putting it in the card reader, and there you go. Especially back in the day when these came out, computers really didn't have card readers. It was, I don't want to say a novelty item still at that time, but it was not OEM as it's more common today. And card readers back then were again, not cheap. Everything back then was expensive. For example, speaking of expensive, if I can go off on a tangent real quick, 1 gig video, 1 gig card, I was paying $50 a card, and that was average. So I've got a bunch of these that I don't get rid of. Why? Because I got a bunch of old cameras, and two, I'll never get my 50 bucks out of it, so it's retarded to get rid of them. So there's my tangent. So let me plug this into power and show you, at least here on the workbench, what happens. So now we got the docking station plugged in, ready to go. You take your camera, put it on the dock. The battery lights come on and say, hey, we're charging. You push this little button, and at which times your camera sends over the signal, or the docking station sends over the signal to the camera and says, hey, pictures to be downloaded, let's do it. Yay, yippee-ki-yay, yay. Done. And at which time, when that happens, guess what? Your clock and your calendar and all that jazz, if it's behind or off, it gets reset to the current time of what your computer is. And you never have to lose all your custom settings and savings and all that stuff. These docking stations, like I said, were a real godsend. They were fantastic. So today, in my scenario, what we're going to do is, like I said, we're going to exchange this tray and put it into this other docking station. What happens, and I'm killing time, because what happens is, for whatever dumb reason, this docking station, as I stated, will turn to red flashing lights. We're going to put the tray into this, and hopefully we won't run into the red flashing light issue. And if that is so, then I'll have to tear this down and see if there's anything serviceable. I don't think there is. I think it's all SMD parts, so we'll see. I stopped the camera from rolling. That way wouldn't waste time, wouldn't waste film, wouldn't waste your time. Took about 10 to 15 minutes for the light to start flashing. So with that said, let's go ahead and swap out bases and see what happens. Unplug from power. Of course, it really ain't going to make any difference. We don't need it, you know. Just makes it easier to move about. On the front side of this dock, you'll see that we have some tabs. On the back side, we have some more tabs, but the front ones is what we're after. Here you just simply take it and smash them in a little bit, or press in, and then it releases. That one's done. This one, same thing. Tab, tab, front. Push in, and it releases. Done. Grab the old one, put these little tabs in the rear. Like so. Or not. And okay, let's do this the right way. Put those tabs in the rear. And I do want to show you that inside here there are little receiving holes, and make sure that that's lined up with that. Of course, I failed to do that. I'm horrible as an instructor, right? So you get it in there and just smash, and it's snapped in securely. Plug this doodad in, set the camera on, put it in frame, green light. charging. So while we're waiting for that, let's go ahead and put this one on as well. There you go. Ta-dum! Set that aside, bring that a little closer so you could see it. Everybody go, ooh, ah. It's been about 15 minutes and we see that we still have a flashy, blinky light. I'm going to say, hey, maybe that'll be okay. So let's move this out of the way, because for all my freaky fans who are into this kind of stuff, I cracked open the other one that was giving me some issues. Why? Hey, because I knew you would like it. So I did this just for you. Before I zoom in on that, I noticed, I must have forgot this, but this has a tripod port. I don't know if I'd ever mount that to a tripod and then put my camera on top of it. Let's see if this one has. Huh? This one does. Right there. So, I don't know what their intentions was for that. One day, I'll have to dig out the original documentation, because yes, I still own the box and everything with it. And I'll have to see. Alright, freaky people, ready? Check this out. Here is what the bottom side looks like. Kind of exciting, I know, especially if I'd stop moving it. A lot of SMD. However, something I did notice while I was in here, and let me bring it to your attention. Get it in the light. See all this? I have no idea what that is. You'd almost think it was a capacitor, electrolytic, that oozed out. Let's flip this over and see what's on the other side. I kind of peeked and I did see something there. I don't know exactly what it is. This is what's on the other side. We do have some capacitors though. I think for a future video we'll pull that out. This video's gone on a little too long. We'll pull those out, swap them, and see if that makes any difference. Well, that'll end this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Until next video, we'll catch you then. 7-3s OM.